Good morning, friends. Before I jump in, I need to tell y'all that something very strange happened this week. The Daily Word, I don't know if you know this, but Unity prints two copies of the Daily Word. One is a large print edition, and one is a small print edition. And for the first time ever, those two editions did not match. And I apologize that we did not get that fixed. But, that's okay because we realize that sometimes things here in this amazing manifest playground that things are sometimes messy, aren't they? They're sometimes messy. I don't know if you know this, but at the ripe age of 93, Charles Fillmore wrote, "I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm and spring forth with a mighty faith to do the things that ought to be done by me." I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm and spring forth with a mighty faith to do the things that ought to be done by me. Zeal is what we're studying this month, and zeal is our ability to be enthusiastic, to be passionate, to inspire ourselves, to motivate ourselves. And I love that fairly sizzle. Right? When I think of sizzle, I think of bacon, right? And I can't think of a better reason to get out of bed than bacon. It's spring forth. I envision jumping out of bed. But you know what? That is not the truth of who I am, right? I more tumble out of bed and stumble to the kitchen and pour myself a cup of ambition. Yawn and stretch and try to come to life. Some of you were singing that in your head, right? That's 9 to 5 by St. Dolly Parton, right? Tumble out of bed because who here has to have their morning coffee? Right? See, we like that caffeine kick. I'm not a coffee drinker. I don't like hot beverages. I've been away. I missed 2 Sundays. I was away for about a week and a half, away from the Crystal Coast. And the latter part of my trip, I went to a spiritual retreat center in Highlands, North Carolina, the Mountain Retreat and Learning Center. And I have been going there for more than 10 years for a spirituality conference. And the last time I went, which was pre-COVID, I had to have a heartfelt conversation with the kitchen manager because the kitchen manager kept taking, that big, huge vat of iced tea. They would take it at night and put it in the cooler, thinking that it would not get consumed. But see, they didn't know me. And there are places here in the Crystal Coast that when they see me come in, they deliver an iced tea, a cup of ice, and a pitcher of tea. Because I drink that much at one meal. And so I had to have this loving conversation of, hey, you need to leave the tea out. So I was preparing myself thinking, okay, they're going to have a new kitchen manager. I'm going to have to tell them I need you to leave the tea out for me. The tea maker was gone. And so life gets messy sometimes, and my lifeline, my caffeine, my iced tea was missing from my life all week when I had to show up to inspire and to motivate myself and others. And you knew who was from the South and who wasn't because the people that weren't, they would go, well, just make yourself some hot tea and put ice in it. And if you're from the South, that's not really iced tea. So I had to live more into this idea of zeal, this internal energy, this thing that is calling us forth to be the Christ that we are meant to be here in this amazing playground. And so we're studying zeal, and we're going to light a candle as we have lit a candle on the first Sunday of every month. And this month we are lighting this orange candle for zeal. Here we go. Zeal, gusto, devotion, fervor. Right? Zeal is this immense emotion that compels us into action. Right? It compels us into action. But as spiritual beings, it's this immense emotion that compels us into action as it is tied to our experience of life, of love, of wisdom. See, our inner knowing, this wisdom that lives in us, when we pair that with our zeal, it moves us into right action. To do what's right rather than to be right. And we've talked about that distinction because sometimes we get attached, right? When we misuse our will, that's my southern coming out, our will, we want to be right. But see, when we get tied to our wisdom and we have that immense emotional connection to be the Christ that we're called to be, we take right action. We use right words. This immense action exists in all of creation. It's not just this human experience thing, but zeal, this calling forth to do what is right to do, exists in all creatures. Like deer are most active at dusk and at dawn, right? Because that's when they can easily see, and so they have this inner compelling desire to live. And so at dusk and at dawn, they move to those places where there is food readily available for them. But see, at dusk and at dawn, their predators are struggling to see clearly. So see, that's why at dusk, as I came off of the interstate 2 miles from my sister's house, a deer decided that it could cross the road to go eat. And instead it collided with my car. And I bring that up because I love my car. My bright orange car that symbolizes zeal in my life. Just like this orange candle signifies zeal. So sometimes we can see clearly and we can move forward with confidence. Sometimes we can see clearly. Sometimes the deer can see clearly, but sometimes it can't because I know that the headlights of my car blinded that deer. And so it could not see clearly. And it tried to leave the road, and then it tried to come back, and then it just barely snapped my car. Just crunched in the front driver's side fender. Now the amazing thing is overnight that dent popped right out of my car. And then I called my insurance, and because I'm adulting pretty well, I have 100% collision insurance, and it's not going to affect my rates, and so my car is going to be fixed. And I got this wonderful lesson about zeal. See, we have to use our wisdom and our understanding so that we can rightly order. We have to move into action with zeal because the Christ of our being, the Christ of your being right now is calling you to spring forth and do what ought to be done by you. Has anyone ever felt that inner calling, that zeal, that desire to go forth and do, and then you decide not to do it? That doesn't always work out very well, does it? What is the Christ of your being calling for you to do? How are you being called to show up in this world? What are you being called to do? The color of orange of my car is called Monarch orange. It's called Monarch orange because it has that metallic kind of undertone to it, like a monarch butterfly. Monarch butterflies are fascinating. Did you know that they are the only known species of butterfly that migrates in two directions, like birds? There are other butterflies that will migrate, but the monarch butterfly migrates in two directions. The typical lifespan of a monarch butterfly is between 2 and 6 weeks, except for every fourth generation. The fourth generation of monarch butterflies is larger and stronger and lives from 6 to 8 months. Because during that 6 to 8 months, it migrates. See, the monarch caterpillar, and you would remember it if you've seen one, because they're bright yellow and a stark white color striped with black. But you're only going to find the monarch caterpillar on milkweed. Milkweed is the only thing that the monarch caterpillar will eat. And then once it's had its fill, it makes this chrysalis around its body, and it turns into this goo, this nutrient soup, as it transforms into what it is being called to be in the world. Does it ever feel like you're walking through goo here in this playground of life? See, you're really in this nutrient soup, being called to show up as who the Christ in you wants to be. And we get to migrate just like this butterfly does once every fourth generation. See, if you were to start walking today, you could walk all the way to Portland, Oregon from this sanctuary here in Atlantic Beach. That is about 3,000 miles. That's on the far side of our continent, right? That's how far some butterflies fly to go back to the very tree where their ancestors would winter. They fly to the Sierra Madre Mountains in Mexico, and that's where sometimes estimates of exceeding 40,000 butterflies nest and rest there for the winter, because butterflies are cold-blooded. They won't survive a winter even here in coastal North Carolina. So they fly south and they winter, and then once warm weather comes, they fly back and they find milkweed to lay their eggs. Milkweed is interesting. Do you know that milkweed is poisonous to most creatures? There are very few species that actually eat milkweed. But it is the only thing that caterpillar will eat. See, we can learn from the monarch, because how much bitterness shows up in our life that we have to transform so that we can be who we're called to be. Who are you called to be today? Now, see, I am always curious, and science, right? The scientists can't figure out, how do the butterflies know where they're flying to? How do they know to go to the exact same tree? Because how they tag birds, they now tag butterflies. So they know that, they can trace the lineage of the butterfly, and they know that this butterfly's, great-great-grandfather went to this same tree. How do they know that? See, I believe that zeal is this smoldering desire for us to fully embody life. It is this smoldering desire even for something as beautiful as a butterfly to embody life to its fullest. It burns us from within, but it does not consume us. It moves us into action in our lives. It's that same inner desire that makes the deer move at dusk, that makes the butterfly fly across the continent back to Mexico. It's that inner burning that makes us spring forth with enthusiasm and faith to do what ought to be done by us. So how do you know? How do you know what is yours to do? Do you know? We've been talking about it all year. Prayer and meditation. You have to get out of this idea that there is a God out there somewhere that is not personal, that is not within, that does not exist in and as and through all around us. We have to remove these ideas of separation, and we get really clear when we meditate, when we pray, when we develop these faculties, these 12 powers that Charles Fillmore told us about. When we get certain in our faith and our wisdom and our understanding, when we are experiencing a willingness to be in life, when we rightly order things by putting God, good, love first. Zeal is symbolized by the color orange. And if you anybody studied art, you know that you take yellow and red to make orange. And see, yellow is our color for faith. And red symbolizes life. When our zeal is grounded in faith, it moves us forward to experience life to its fullest. Not just this physical manifest world of life, but the true life of who we are, the Christ life, the individualized expression of the divine that you are called to be now. Right now. I also like to look at what Mr. Fillmore said as he associated each of these faculties, these powers, with a disciple. And see, zeal is represented by Simon the Canaanite. See, Canaanite metaphysically says this is one who exists in and for materialistic things. Have you been a Canaanite before? Have you been so invested in the material world and the stuff you have that you have lost sight of who you really are? That's happened to me. And see, we can get caught up in that idea. But see, there's another Simon who's a disciple. Right? Simon, who was awakened by our way shower. He was awakened by Jesus to see the truth, to know his own Christ potential. And he changed his name to Peter. Peter symbolizes our faith. We get to marry this zeal with our faith. We get to partner it with our wisdom so that we can go forth. Because if we don't do this, if we use our zeal and confine it to this, the egoic mind that we have, right? This constricted place in consciousness that thinks it's only about this world, about this manifest thing. When we do that, that results in us becoming impulsive or ruthless, compulsive even. It can make us appear overly ambitious. Right? When we focus on zeal just from this constricted place in consciousness, we appear insincere and phony. Have you ever met someone like that you're like, wow, that person, they're not coming from the truth of who they are. They are overly concerned with this. And this isn't who we are. As I say that, I'm prompted to remind us that there is nothing wrong with having a prosperous life and having nice things. Right? There's nothing wrong with that. But that's not what this life is about. This spiritual being that you are having this experience is not about the materialistic. It's about unfolding to be the Christ that you are called to be. In the 12 Powers of Man, Charles Fillmore says, Turn a portion of your zeal to do God's will, to the establishment of His kingdom within you. Do not put all your enthusiasm into teaching or preaching or healing and helping others. Help your own soul. Do not let your zeal run away with your judgment. See, with our judgment we know, with our wisdom we know who we are. With our wisdom we know what we are being called to do here in this incredible place, in this moment of now. So we have to help our own soul by developing our zeal, by developing our faith, our understanding, our wisdom, by developing all of our faculties so that we can show up as the individualized Christ that we are. Yes? That's what this is all about. Thank you, Kay. Love it when Kay yells back at me. This is who we are called to be in this moment. And our zeal makes us fairly sizzle and jump out of bed. And we don't need that cup of coffee or that gallon of iced tea. Right? We get to show up to be who we are called to be, which is love. Which is love. I am here to be love. Say that with me. I am here to be love. I am here to be love. And so it is. No, it's not it. It's not it. Zeal is a transcendent desire for us. It is zeal ties our spiritual being to our manifest being. Zeal is our desire to access and use the unlimited wellspring of life, intelligence, and substance available within us. Zeal is our transcendent desire to access and use the unlimited wellspring that lives inside of us. Are you willing to use your zeal? We're going to talk more about it for the rest of the month. And now I'm complete. I love you all.
I'm here to remind you of your magnificence, to help you awake to all the wonder that you are. I long to show you all the joy you're worthy of. I'm here to remind you how much you're truly loved. You're here to remind me of my magnificence, to help to wake to all the wonder that I am. You long to show me all the joy I'm worthy of. You're here to remind me how much I'm truly loved.
So if it's comfortable to you, I invite you to simply relax into your seat. Close your eyes if that's comfortable. With a gentle exhale, just relax a little bit more into your seat. And relax your shoulders. Relax all of the muscles in your face. Feel the tension in your neck simply drain away. We move into this moment knowing that there is no place we need to be. There is nothing we need to do. We simply relax into this moment, becoming aware of our breath, bringing our thoughts back to this idea: I am here to be love. My zeal calls me to be love now. And so we relax in this moment. We relax in this moment, in the silence. Zeal is my transcendent desire to use the unlimited wellspring in me to be the Christ on earth. Zeal is my transcendent desire to use the unlimited wellspring within me to be the Christ on earth. And I am grateful. I am grateful. And so it is.